Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Zesty Thoughts with your host, Anabla. Welcome to episode 81. I'm sorry I missed y'all last week. As you can probably tell by my voice, I was sick as a dog last week. I had a fever for a few days, and one of those days did overlap with the day that I normally record. And then it just continued on through the week. I'm still a little bit in recovery mode, but I'm definitely on the mend. I feel normal. I just have like lingering congestion. My voice is a little hoarse, so I'm going to push on through, take some water breaks. I started 75 hard yesterday. So I have a good friend. She talked me into doing it, and I was like, honestly, I'm down because I've never tried it before. It's always seemed like really intimidating, but for some reason when she brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, like I can make that happen. So on day 2, finished my 2 45-minute workouts, working my way through my gallon of water. I have my extra gallon here and my Awala that is filled to the brim. And we're just pushing on through, but it's very exciting. I'm super motivated to move my body more. And yeah, I'm doing whole foods only, like no processed foods, no prepared foods, nothing from a package. If I want bread, for example, I have to make it myself. Like everything has to be made by me. So that is also kind of fun. I love to cook, so I'm like not against that. Plus no alcohol, no sugar. Read 10 pages of a nonfiction a day. I'm reading 2 books actually right now. I just started Obama's A Promised Land. It's super long. It's like 700 pages. So I will be taking 2 months to read it. I'm also borrowing Females by Andrea Long-Chu. My friend M let me borrow that one. So I'm reading both of those. So I'm doing a little bit more than 10 pages a day since I'm doubling up and reading both of those. But both are great so far. I'm very happy about those choices. I've actually had Obama's book for a long time. I read Michelle Obama's book like 2 years ago, maybe. I think I was gifted both of them like within the same year, just because I was very eager to read them. I think I got them like as a Christmas gift. And A Promised Land was just sitting on my shelf for like all these years. And I was like, okay, it's time. I got to read it, baby. So loving it so far. He's so inspiring. It's kind of talking about, at least the part that I'm at is talking about like right before he decided to actually run for president. So it's very interesting. It's like his background, what led him to make that decision. He's very introspective. It's very detailed. I love it. It's like an amazing deep dive into his mind and into like his thought processes leading into that time in his life being president, which is crazy. So it's cool. I have a bunch of reviews for you guys. I have reviews from last week and then also from this week. I was sick, so did a lot of rotting. I've been watching a lot of Real Housewives of Mormon Wives. I think I'm on season 3 now, or like just started season 3. It's crazy. I'm not gonna like say anything yet. I know there's been a lot of like recent drama, but I'm not caught up. I haven't watched season 4. I don't know all the tea, so I'm gonna wait until I finish like season 3 and 4, catch myself up on all of the drama, and then gab about that in one episode. Yeah, I watched a lot this week, so I do have a lot of reviews. Okay, y'all. First review is Heated Rivalry. Finally finished it, and I'm really glad that I gave it a chance. I mean, obviously, most shows that are really hyped up, I feel like are hyped up for a reason. Shows don't get like that popular with that much like attention, and love for nothing. And I'm really glad I stuck it out. The first few episodes, I'll be honest, were just a lot of, getting down and dirty, which I'm not opposed to. Like, it's fun. But I was like, is there going to be like a love aspect to this? Because that's all fun and games, right? We can all agree that's fun to watch. But I do feel like it was kind of missing that like romantic aspect. I was waiting for that. And I was so freaking satisfied when it came. I thought this was such an amazing series. I'm hoping they're going to do a season 2. I don't know. I feel like I want a little bit more closure with these same characters, but my gut would tell me that it seems like it's one of those shows where like it might be different characters like every season, which I think would be beautiful as well. I just loved it so much. The last like 2 episodes were just like my heart so so heartwarming, and it was just like, I don't know. I don't want to give too much away. I'm trying not to do spoilers in my episodes, you guys, because I want you guys to go watch these things. And I don't want to make you skip a bunch. I'm going to try to reduce that in general. But yeah, Heated Rivalry was amazing. It was just, I feel like such a great story of like forbidden love, obviously, gay love, and it was just such an amazing story, and the context of it with like sports and hockey and like just sports and how there's like that obviously stigma, that, you know, sports are primarily played, at least men's sports, by straight men, but obviously we all know that's not the case. Statistically, there are a lot of probably men in the LGBTQ community that, because of kind of the customs within sports, maybe feel like not comfortable to be out in the public eye, which is super sad, because they're worried that it could risk their career or contracts or money or whatever. So it's such a great story. I can't like speak highly enough of it. And it gets really, really good. Like after episode 3 or 4, it's like, I think it's an amazing reflection on something that gay people still have to deal with. Like, yes, obviously the world to an extent has modernized. Being just gay in some parts of the world isn't like as dangerous as it used to be. I can't say it's completely safe because there's still hate crimes and violence against people in the LGBTQ community as a whole. But I think it's a good reminder for a lot of people that are like, oh, we're like in America and like you can get married, you know, gay people can get married now. Like it's like fine for you guys. For the people that really think that like we're done with the fight and we like did everything we needed to do, it's a very clear example of like, no, we're not even close. You know, we've barely scratched the surface. There's still parts of, you know, fields or careers where people feel like unsafe being openly out and like coming out because they think that it could risk their career, which is fucked up, obviously, not cool. So I think just for that like message alone, I think it's a great show. I do think, unfortunately, the kind of people that actually need to hear that message probably will not sit through more than an episode or two, because the first few episodes there's a lot of sex and a lot of gay sex, and for some people probably also those people those groups of people overlap that you know feel like, oh, we're like good, we're done, we don't need to do anything, or that are like literally against gay people, probably will not sit through it to even get to that point. So that kind of sucks. But I would say, I don't know, if you're like averse to that, just fast forward through it. You don't have to. Any sex scene in general, like you don't have to watch it. You can just skip through it and skip to like the really important, meaningful parts of it, because it gets there. I promise it does. All in all, I'm really glad that I finished it. I would give it like a 9.5 to a 10 out of 10. One of the characters in the show, Ilya, is Russian. He has a Russian accent. He speaks Russian in the show, and I like was fully convinced that this actor was also Russian. Okay. I come to find out when I'm watching like an interview of them together, the two actors, like a Vogue interview or something, that he's literally like American. I was like, wait, what? How can you pull off the Russian accent and honestly like speaking dialogue in Russian? To me, it fooled me completely. I think everyone is feeling like gobsmacked in the same way. I'm not Russian, so I can't be like, oh, it was like a 10 out of 10. But I was very, very, very impressed by that. And now Connor's story is like on my radar. I'm like, who are you? Who are you to do that and sound so good? That's crazy. You had literally the whole world convinced. It's actually so impressive. Considering this is like kind of his breakout role, I feel like the whole world was just completely convinced that he was Russian. And then we come to find out he's not. It was just crazy. I'm super impressed by that also. So go check it out. I also watched the Chernobyl series finally. This is from like 2019 or something. It's like my new fixation. Chernobyl and like Appalachian horror stories on TikTok. Okay. Those have been my thirst of the week, kind of like what I've been diving into in my free time when I'm bored and I just want to like learn something. Okay. So the Chernobyl series was insane, actually insane. Everybody go watch it. Like if you've not already watched it, I don't know what took me so long. I've even in the past like seen the preview for it and be like, oh my God, I think I would really like this. And then I guess just other stuff got in the way, like other shows that I was prioritizing. But it's actually like rage bait how it happened. If you don't know much about Chernobyl and the lore behind it and what happened, essentially in 1986, what is now modern day Ukraine, then it was the USSR, there was a nuclear power plant. There were some issues. There were some corners cut to save money, right? I think on behalf of like the USSR, Russia, I don't know, powers that be at the time that were building nuclear power plants, they basically cut corners to save money on materials. They cut corners in what turned out to basically be a flawed reactor design. And then there was a low power safety test. And it's just such a freaking mess, you guys. I can't even explain. And to me, it's like ridiculous, but I'm like, I could totally see something like this happening, for example, in like modern day America, because everyone is trying to cut corners. Everyone is trying to save money. You know, I mean, Boeing has had issues in the past with like planes and like, cause they're probably out there trying to save money or like have less employees and save on labor and save on materials and all that. And it just goes to show how that can really be detrimental to us as a society, like trying to cheap out on things and trying to like save money and cut corners, and how dangerous that can be with like machinery, right? Okay, with like a nuclear power plant. Essentially, it exploded. The reactor core exploded, okay? And it basically spread like radioactive contamination throughout like all of the area. Because of wind, it also spread all throughout Europe. That's actually how they even were alerted to think that it was actually the core that exploded, because initially they just thought it was an explosion in the building or other parts of the plant, which would have been not as bad, right? But apparently Sweden was the first country to detect high levels of contamination in the air. There were actually people at a nuclear power plant in Sweden, and they had detected high levels of radiation in the air, and then like made a report internationally to like, I don't know, warn people, and like we don't know where this is coming. It's not coming from us. Where is this coming from, kind of thing. And yeah, then it just spiraled. But people tried to cover up the fact that the core was broken, or they were just like in denial of it in the beginning. And then firefighters went in to try to like fight the actual fire. And there's this insane scene, dude, when the firefighters are like first arriving on the scene, and there's a chunk of what looks like maybe concrete or asphalt, but it's like a chunk of it, okay? Like a big hefty chunk of it, of some material, okay? And one of the firefighters picks it up and he's like, yo, what is this? Like this is crazy. Where did this come from? Like the whole building exploded. You know, they're like commenting on it. And it's freaking graphite. And graphite's like only found in the core, basically. So just by like seeing that material out and about on the ground, that was evidence right then and there that the core had exploded. Also, like, to that extent, that like just physically holding that thing, like game over. And then like a minute later in the scene, his hand is like all fucked up and like bloody, and like, dude, it's just so freaking sad how everybody died. And then like thousands more had to, you know, fight the fire and basically work to contain as much of the radioactivity as they possibly could. And like thousands more were maybe not killed, but like basically like had cancer and all this crazy shit, dude. It's so freaking scary actually when you think about it. So all that to say, definitely watch the Chernobyl show. It's like a television show. It's not like a documentary. But now I want to like watch all the documentaries about it, because it's so actually just so insane, the way they tried to cover it up and like pretend like, oh, it's like fine. Even after they found out the core exploded, they were really trying to like not warn anybody, which is crazy, because think about how many people got sick. You know, obviously a lot of people like died from radiation exposure, but it's just insane how many like lasting effects it's probably had on even all of Europe, because it's so crazy. There's like a graph. I'll try to put it up here if I can find it. There's a map that I found that showed like based on the wind, like where it blew through parts of Europe and like where radiation levels were detected, which means all of those people throughout parts of Europe were exposed to like high levels of radiation in the air. It also affected like cattle, and then like apparently a bunch of babies and kids that were drinking milk from like radiation exposed cows were like getting cancer and dying. And it's crazy because it also can cause really bad birth defects. So anybody that was pregnant at the time that maybe like survived and like didn't get immediately sick, who knows, maybe had kids born with like 4 eyes or something. Like it's actually just so heartbreaking and crazy, mostly because it was as a result of like trying to save money, and also just like stubborn men trying not to like lose their job, and like people being fueled by their ego, right? And not wanting to admit when they were wrong, right? Okay. The fact that that's at the core of it, no pun intended, is actually insane. And so that's why I say that it's rage bakes. Like, oh my God, this could have just been prevented if the people like working anywhere, right, along the timeline were just like good people, right? If they just like had a little bit of like morality in their bones, wouldn't have happened. So it's crazy. Like I said, I've also gone down a massive rabbit hole watching Appalachian horror stories and like story times of people on TikTok who either currently live or have lived in the Appalachian region in the United States. For those of you that don't know, the Appalachian region is referred to as such because of a mountain range here in the United States, the Appalachian Mountains. I'll put a picture here so you can see. Runs through New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. Okay. And there is this like kind of an unspoken lore about the Appalachian Mountains, that they're very haunted, that there are like skinwalkers, whatever the fuck those are, out living in the mountains. There are also rumors that there are like natives and people that like live off the grid that are living in the mountains, like completely off the grid, like undetected. There are a lot of rumors about like the Appalachian Mountains just being very like dangerous and haunted and like not safe at night, not safe after dark, essentially. So that's the lore behind it. If you don't frequent TikTok, I suggest you go down this rabbit hole. Maybe not at night, because like I went through probably like, I don't know, 20 minutes worth of like people's story times about when they lived in the Appalachian Mountains, or seeing people, hearing things, like just experiencing weird supernatural stuff in the Appalachian region. And pretty much anybody that's lived there or currently lives there, they all say the same thing. Don't go out after dark. Like, don't be in the woods after dark at all. Like, just point blank period. You have to be indoors. Don't be outside alone. Like, even in like the early evening, like right before sunset, like straight up don't be out there alone. Even during the day, there are some people that like, yeah, you shouldn't be like out in the woods even during the day alone. But there is just, this just like consistent warning. And I don't know if this is all stemming from people's like actual experiences, or if these are like wives' tales or like old kind of like myths about the region. Either way, I've never really been to that part of the world. I've been to parts of Tennessee, but other than that, I've never been anywhere like close to the Appalachian Mountains. So like, I'm like kind of curious. I'm subscribed to Peter Santinello's YouTube channel. For those of you that are not put on to Peter Santinello, he is like kind of a journalist, essentially. I would consider him a journalist. He just travels America like on his own dime and goes to like rural areas. He goes everywhere. He'll go to cities, he'll go to rural areas. Basically, he travels America to meet locals, talk to them about their experiences living where they live, what life is like, what the economy is like, what housing is like, what politics are like. He talks about it all. He does not leave anything off of the table. And he had a series where he went to like parts of Appalachia, and he talked to people in like a very, very rural and poor areas of the Appalachian region. And it was so freaking intriguing. So honestly, I might find the few videos that I watched and link them in today's pod episode, because they're so informative. And also just to hear about the experience like from these people. It's very eye-opening. It makes you think so differently about your own place in America and your own perspective. especially me being like from California. I'm not from like a small town. I'm not from like a rural area at all by any means. So it definitely gives me a very different perspective on it all. And I'm just like curious about it. But the horror story is definitely, they wrote me in, girl. Now I'm like at night, I'm like, don't look out the window. um, but yeah, I also watched Song Sung Blue. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It was so sad, but I liked it basically. But it was very sad. That's all I have to say. Just watch it. It's good. I finally finished When the Crawdads Sing. Okay. I talked about it in a previous episode and I kept saying Where the Crawdads Sings. Right. Right. Because that's not the title. So Where the Crawdads Sing. I listened to it as an audiobook and it was really good. It was kind of slow, I would say, in the first half. Second half got really good. I loved it so much. I kind of want to watch the film, although it has like really bad ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm like kind of scared. I'm probably going to be disappointed, but that's how most people feel when they read a book and then they watch the film. They're like, it's not the same. It's like, not, the book is better. They missed this or they didn't do this. Blah, blah, blah. So, but I did like it. I would recommend it. I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of went into this book blind, like completely blind. But I liked it. I did like the story. It does have themes of abuse, and like definitely racism. So a little trigger warning for y'all. But I think it's a great story. It has a happy ending. So if you like books with happy endings, maybe check it out. I also finished Conversations with God book 2. That took me a while to finish. Any book that's like nonfiction, that's very like introspective and spiritual, kind of takes me a while to read. I love reading them, but I find myself reading like a paragraph and being like, okay, I need to digest that. I need to think about how that relates to my life and how I relate to that, and right, and get something out of it. So it took me a while to finish, but I did really like it. It was very different from book 1. There was a lot of talk about society and politics and like essentially how we're fucking up as a society and things that we could do to really help society at large and like make the world a better place for humans, right? And just for the world and for living beings. So yeah, I really liked it. I like agree with a lot of the things in the book. And I think a lot of people do. I just think we're like nowhere near that yet, unfortunately. There are so many people that are just like, it's a dog eat dog world. Like, gotta fend for yourself. People are not interested in sharing. People are not interested in having each other's backs. That sense of community, at least in America, like far and few between. So I think America would probably be like the last damn country to take on some of those like views. But I did really like it a lot. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I just realized I'm looking over at my notes a lot. I have my notes up on my phone. So if you see me looking here, I should just set up another camera here and then you guys could have 2 POVs. But yeah, I really, really liked it. Book 1 was great, but book 2 was a little bit more like emotionally charging, like in a good way. Like I related to it and I really liked it and I got more out of it. And I was like, okay, I kind of feel seen in a way. There are parts of it that were like probably what some people would think is like kind of extreme regarding like universal basic income and like everything is shared and it like has like hints of like communism, but like not in the political sense, right? But just the idea that like, yeah, the world is like abundant. It should, everything, all the resources should be shared and like nobody is worthy of having more than anybody else. Like even by hard work standards, like we're all equal, we're all equally deserving of life and food and access to clean water and like all these kind of things. Which I think are just like basic like human rights, right? But for some reason people aren't into stuff like that. So I really liked it for that reason. So if you're into stuff like that, and you are interested in like human rights just in general, like on your radar, I would recommend it just for that reason. Conversations with God, book 2. There are 4. So book 2 specifically. I also watched Something Very Bad Is Gonna Happen. That I binged while I was sick. It's insane. Of everything that I've watched in the last 2 weeks, that is my top recommendation. It's a limited series on Netflix. I actually have no words. I loved it so much. It was so intense. Had me on the edge of my seat. I mean, it was like a thriller / horror / Oh, it was just so good. I don't even have words to describe how much I liked this series. So if you want to dive into a limited series, I think there's like 7 or 8 episodes. It's actually insane. And I think you're gonna like it a lot. It has a massive twist that no one expects, but it's great. It's great. I love the acting. I loved the script. I loved the lighting. Okay, there's been this like trend of like shitty lighting, like Netflix lighting. It's like this like really cheap production value, right? Um, where like lighting is shitty and it's just like everything looks like a Netflix show, right? There's like that kind of conversation right now going on regarding film and how it's bleeding out into other avenues outside of Netflix. This did not have that at all. Okay. I thought this was very well made. The coloring and the lighting in the show were just chef's kiss, in my opinion. So this is one of those shows that definitely does not have that. Honestly, I will say horror tends to not have that because it's a little darker. It's a little more like mysterious looking. I don't know what it is about that versus other genres, but I find that even like Netflix horrors are like better. I mean, except for like the corny ones. I don't maybe not. Either way, it was well done. I really enjoyed it. Before I got sick, I basically had 3 days of my spring break to actually enjoy. One of the days was super fun and spontaneous with my girl. We went to Lake Balboa in the valley, you guys. We went on the swans. We were just spontaneously like, should we go on the swans? We are going to try to go on a hike, but then, right. One of the first like weekdays of spring break, people don't have shit to do. Everyone was hiking. We tried to go to Betty something. I don't know. It's in the valley, you guys. Betty Deer something hike. Okay. And it was freaking packed. So we left and we went to Lake Balboa and the swans were so fun. They're just like the swans in Echo Park Lake. So if you catch my drift, they were so fun. There were so many people at the park. It was such a beautiful day. And then we got pokey and just had a nice, like, relaxing day. It was just like a fun girls' day. So 10 out of 10. I suggest y'all, if you haven't had a girls' day in a while, like you and just like a bestie, do a girls' day, like all day together from morning until evening. You feel me? Definitely do it. Heart to heart bonding, I'd highly recommend, right? And the mans should be doing this too. This is not just like a girls' day thing. I think men can have girls' days too, right? As in men hanging out with their best friend, like their best guy friend, right? And just having like a fun day, hitting the gym, right? Getting Chipotle. That sounds like such a crazy stereotype. I don't know. Driving a nice car, whatever guys like to do for fun together. That sounds like the trifecta there. Gym, Chipotle, cars, right? Game, if you're a gamer. Maybe talk about your feelings, right? Maybe do that also, because girls' days always include the feels, okay? So don't forget that. Everybody needs a girls' day every once in a while. Also, on our girls' day, we went to Yalla Coffee in the Valley. Chef's kiss. I am a sucker for an espresso tonic. Theirs was insane. It was like apricot, cardamom. Oh, what a combo. I'm a sucker for an espresso tonic. And when a place does it really good, for me, my top 2 would be Yalla and 10-speed coffee. 10-speed, I think, has like a seasonal espresso tonic that was like orange something in the fall. Those are my top 2. Anyway, y'all, I hope that you have a fantastic week. I'm on the mend, pushing through 75 hard. I'm going to go chug some water basically right now because I basically have to do that all day long to finish a gallon. And I'm going to be sick basically from drinking so much water. But I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Have a fantastic spring week and a fun weekend. Stay safe and I'll see you next week. Bye.